The rain hammered against the prison walls like bullets on steel. Inside cell block D of Blackgate Federal Penitentiary, one man sat calmly at a metal table, sipping cold coffee while an entire city trembled at the sound of his name. His name was Vincent Moretti. To the public, he was just another imprisoned crime boss serving 7 life sentences. But behind the prison walls, he still ruled everything. Tonight's story is about power, betrayal, loyalty, revenge, and the terrifying truth that some kings never lose their throne, even behind bars. Before we begin, comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And if you enjoy intense mafia stories like this one, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another unforgettable story. Now, let's begin. The city of Ashfield never slept. At night, its streets glowed with neon lights, underground casinos, hidden clubs, drug deals, black market auctions, and whispers of corruption that reached every corner of power. And above it all sat Vincent Moretti. He wasn't loud. He didn't flaunt money. He didn't give interviews. But senators feared him. Police captains obeyed him. And rival gangs disappeared overnight if they crossed him. Vincent built his empire slowly. By age 25, he controlled gambling. By 30, he controlled shipping docks. By 40, he controlled judges, unions, politicians, and half the city's police force. People called him the Silent Emperor. Not because he never spoke, but because when Vincent spoke, people listened carefully. Because the wrong answer could get you buried. For 20 years, federal agents tried to destroy him. Every investigation failed. Witnesses vanished. Evidence disappeared. Juries were bribed. But one man refused to give up. FBI agent Daniel Reyes. Unlike others, Reyes wasn't corrupt. He studied Vincent for 8 years. Every phone call, every shipment, every meeting. He watched patiently until finally, a mistake happened. One of Vincent's captains got greedy. Marco DeLuca secretly sold information to the FBI in exchange for immunity and millions of dollars. Within weeks, federal raids exploded across Ashfield. Warehouses burned. Bank accounts froze. Dozens of soldiers were arrested. And finally, Vincent Moretti himself was captured. The entire country watched the trial live on television. People expected rage, fear, desperation. Instead, Vincent smiled. When the judge sentenced him to 7 life sentences without parole, Vincent simply adjusted his tie and said, "You think prison stops kings?" The courtroom went silent. Even Agent Reyes felt uneasy, because Vincent didn't sound defeated. He sounded amused. Blackgate Federal Penitentiary was designed for monsters, serial killers, terrorists, cartel leaders, men too dangerous for normal prisons. The guards believed Vincent would finally lose control there. They were wrong. Within 6 months, strange things started happening. A guard suddenly paid off his debts. Another bought a new house. One prisoner who insulted Vincent was found dead in the showers. No witnesses, no evidence, just fear. Vincent never raised his voice. He simply sat in the prison library every afternoon reading books while messages traveled across the prison through coded notes, bribed guards, and loyal inmates. Outside prison, businesses continued operating perfectly. Drug routes expanded. Money flowed. Rivals disappeared. It became terrifyingly obvious. Vincent still ruled Ashfield. From prison. Federal authorities panicked. How was he doing it? Phone calls were monitored. Visitors searched. Cells inspected daily. Yet somehow Vincent's empire became stronger after imprisonment. Agent Reyes reopened the investigation. What he discovered shocked him. Vincent had created something called the Ghost Network. Years before his arrest, Vincent prepared for prison. Every captain only knew small pieces of the operation. Nobody except Vincent understood the full structure. Messages moved through lawyers. Lawyers moved through businesses. Businesses moved through encrypted accounts. Even coded phrases in newspaper ads carried instructions. It was genius, impossible to fully trace. And every person involved feared Vincent more than prison itself. Because betrayal had consequences. Brutal consequences. Vincent had one weakness. His son, Luca Moretti. Luca grew up surrounded by luxury, violence, and power. But unlike his father, Luca hated the criminal life. He wanted freedom, normality, a clean future. When Vincent went to prison, Luca disappeared from public view and tried building a legitimate business overseas. For years, Vincent respected that choice, until war erupted in Ashfield. A younger gang called the Vipers started attacking Moretti operations. They were reckless, violent, hungry for power, and for the first time in decades, Vincent's empire began bleeding. Captains started questioning leadership. Fear weakened. That's when Vincent summoned Luca back home. When Luca visited Blackgate Prison, he barely recognized his father. Vincent looked older, colder, but his eyes still carried terrifying control. "You will take over," Vincent told him calmly. "I don't want this life," Luca replied. Vincent leaned closer. "You don't choose this family. You protect it." Luca left prison feeling trapped. Because deep down, he knew refusing his father could start a war inside the family itself. Ashfield exploded into chaos. Shootings happened nightly. Cars burned. Nightclubs became battlegrounds. The Vipers wanted the throne. And Vincent ordered total retaliation. Even from prison, he directed strategy like a military commander. Every move precise. Every attack calculated. Luca reluctantly stepped into leadership. At first, the captains doubted him. They saw him as soft, weak, but Luca proved intelligent. He avoided unnecessary violence, negotiated smarter deals, protected innocent civilians whenever possible. For the first time, some people actually respected the Moretti family again. But peace never lasts in organized crime, especially when ambition enters the room. One night, Luca discovered something horrifying. Uncle Salvatore, Vincent's oldest friend, had secretly allied with the Vipers. For years, Salvatore felt overlooked. He believed Vincent's imprisonment created the perfect chance to seize power. Together with the Vipers, Salvatore planned to eliminate Luca and take over the empire permanently. Luca confronted him privately. "Why betray my father after everything?" Salvatore laughed bitterly. "Your father ruled through fear. Men get tired of fear." Luca realized something painful. The empire was rotting from within. And if he told Vincent, a massacre would follow. Meanwhile, inside Blackgate, tensions exploded. Federal officials attempted moving Vincent into solitary confinement permanently. They hoped cutting communication would finally weaken him. Instead, a riot erupted. Entire prison wings burned. Guards were taken hostage. Chaos consumed Blackgate for 14 hours. And somehow Vincent remained untouched. Inmates protected him like a king protecting a throne room. When the riot ended, investigators discovered something terrifying. The riot had been orchestrated solely to prevent Vincent's transfer. Even imprisoned killers feared disappointing him. Agent Reyes finally understood the truth. Vincent's greatest weapon wasn't violence. It was loyalty born from fear, money, and manipulation. He made people believe survival depended on him. Luca reached his breaking point. He saw innocent people dying. children caught in crossfire, families destroyed, all because one man refused to let go of power. His father. For the first time, Luca considered the impossible, destroying the Moretti Empire himself. Secretly, he contacted Agent Reyes, the same FBI agent who imprisoned Vincent. At first, Reyes didn't trust him, but Luca handed over critical information: bank routes, safe houses, corrupt officials, secret codes, enough to collapse the ghost network forever. Reyes asked him one question: why now? Luca stared silently before answering: because my father would burn the entire city before giving up control. Federal raids struck harder than ever before. Dozens of captains disappeared overnight. Money channels froze. Politicians resigned. The Moretti Empire began collapsing piece by piece. Inside prison, Vincent immediately sensed betrayal. He studied every report carefully, every failure, every missing shipment, and eventually, he realized the truth. His own son betrayed him. For the first time in decades, Vincent looked genuinely emotional. Not angry, not shocked, hurt. When Luca visited Blackgate one final time, the room felt heavy with silence. Vincent stared at him through the glass. You chose strangers over blood. Luca shook his head slowly. I chose peace. Vincent smiled sadly. You think peace exists? Men like me built this city. No, Luca replied quietly. Men like you poisoned it. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Vincent leaned toward the phone. I could still destroy everything from here. Luca answered. But you won't. Why not? Because for the first time, you've lost. Those words hit harder than any prison sentence. Weeks later, Vincent Moretti's influence finally weakened. Without money, fear began disappearing. Former allies cooperated with authorities. Corrupt officials exposed each other. The ghost network collapsed. Ashfield slowly began rebuilding. And Vincent, he remained inside Blackgate. Older, quiet, forgotten by most. The king who once ruled an entire city from prison now spent his days alone in the library, staring through reinforced windows at a world moving on without him. One snowy evening, a young guard asked him, "Was it worth it?" Vincent looked out at the falling snow for a long moment. Then he answered softly, "I had everything, but I never understood what mattered." Months later, Vincent Moretti died quietly in his prison cell at the age of 73. No riots followed. No revenge attacks. No empire rose in his honor. Only silence. And somewhere across Ashfield, Luca Moretti watched the city skyline from his apartment balcony as dawn rose over streets finally free from fear. For the first time in generations, the city belonged to itself again. And that concludes the story of the crime boss who ruled from prison. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more intense mafia dramas, crime thrillers, betrayals, and unforgettable fictional stories. And before you go, comment below and tell me which part shocked you the most and where you're watching from. Until next time, stay tuned for more stories.